At Apex Radiology, we do more than just imaging. We provide answers, clarity, and peace of mind. We offer a full range of diagnostic imaging services, from X-rays to ultrasounds, CT scans, MRIs, mammograms, fluoroscopy, and interventional studies. We pride ourselves on accuracy and timely reporting because we know every answer matters. With locations in Kingston and Ocherius, our team is here to serve you with care and expertise. Call us at 929 Apex to book your appointment today. Apex Radiology, the clear choice for all your diagnostic needs.
Welcome to the Q3 earnings call for the 2026 financial year for IPCL, that's Image Plus Consultants Limited. I am Renee McDonald, your moderator for today. I am indeed the investor relations lead from Learn, Grow, Invest, as well as CEO. And it is my pleasure to be here with you today. As always, I am excited and pleased to welcome Mrs. Keisha Anderson to the platform as she walks you through the results for Q3 2026 for IPCL. Please help me to welcome Mrs. Keisha Anderson. Welcome, Keisha. We're not hearing. I believe you're muted.
Yes. Hear me now?
Yes. We are
hearing me now? No?
Yes. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm saying good afternoon to you, your community, and everybody else who is joining us. And blessings for 2026. I think we can still get away with saying Happy New Year, right? We're not at the 31st yet.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And the very same to you. It is,
you ready for me to go, Renee?
Yes, please do.
Boy, Renee, I think I lost the connection for a minute. I didn't hear what you said.
Please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So as usual, are you hearing me and you're seeing me okay?
Yes, we are. You're great.
Great. All right. Okay. Let us start with a word of prayer as we normally do. So, Father God, I want to give you thanks for today. I thank you, dear Lord, for your blessings that has taken IPCL into a new calendar year. I thank you, dear Lord, now for the results produced. I thank you, dear Lord, for the opportunity to continue to serve healthcare in Jamaica. And I thank you, dear Lord, now for the opportunity to share our results and have questions from our shareholders. Just ask that you continue to go before us in this meeting. In your precious name I pray. Amen. All right, Renee. So we would be reporting on our Q3 numbers that ended in the month November of 2025. And I think it would be remiss of me not to pause first to reflect on what happened to Jamaica in October of 2025, which would have been the second month in our third quarter. By now, of course, we know we would have been impacted by Hurricane Melissa. And we know that whereas we who are here in Kingston and St. Andrew may not have felt the effects, we know that our brothers and sisters in Western Jamaica were terribly impacted and even today are still dealing with the after effects of the hurricane. For us here at IPCL, we really had good fortune, and I really want to thank and commend our team that does the business continuity planning, because we closed our offices on the 24th of October to be able to prepare for the hurricane. For those of us who remember, we know that we were on hurricane watch for quite a while, and when it actually landed on the 28th, we were actually able to reopen in Kingston at our Winchester location and in St. Ann at our White River North Commercial Complex location on the very next day, the 29th of October. From our checks, we believe that we are the only private diagnostic imaging entity that was open. So I think that we can really say that our business continuity plans were tested and proven to be strong. Though we resumed on the 29th and our other two locations the day after on the 30th, we noted that in Ocherius, we didn't return to normal power supply until the 14th of November. And we noted further that several of our patients continue to struggle with the after effects of the hurricane, just accessibility for some persons, and for others having to reallocate funds to actually deal with the effects of the hurricane as opposed to completing their tests. So we did see right after a slowdown in our volumes at our Otrus location in particular, and for our nuclear medicine modality, where we have several patients coming from Western Jamaica, and would have seen a downturn in our numbers. But normalcy returned at the end of November, so we won't complain because it's a minor impact to us as compared to what others went through. But it would be remiss of me not to identify and acknowledge that that occurred in the quarter for which I'm presenting the results. So if you'll go now to the slide for me, please, Renee, the first slide, while I share with the shareholders that we were able to support specifically hurricane relief by doing relief packages, and we gave that out in the environment surrounding our Ocherius location, as far as Northern Clarendon and in North Trelawney. And we also made two donations, one of 600,000 Jamaican to Jamaica Cancer Society and one of 600,000 Jamaican to Food for the Poor. And our board felt that it was important to support those well-established organizations that know what they're doing on the ground and would know where best to direct the funds. I think the viewpoint that the board has is that as the year goes on, we'll continue to assess any other way that we can offer tangible relief to our fellow Jamaicans during this time. So if we look at the numbers and we look at our performance for the quarter against that backdrop, I'd like to highlight to our shareholders our revenue performance. We delivered revenue of 277.2 million for the quarter, which is below the prior year quarter, where we would have done 296.7 million. So we were down 7% year over year. However, if we look at the trend from Q4 of financial year 2025 to present, we recognize that we have been steadily improving our revenue numbers and going back to where we were prior to that quarter. And I think it's important here to note the fact that we would have had a heavier reliance on referrals from the Ministry of Health program, the Extended Healthcare Service Delivery Program, where our revenues and scan count from that source would have exceeded 60% and is now down to 4%. So I think that is a successful replacement by having either private patients paying for the studies or patients from the public system assuming the cost for themselves. So I am confident that the trend that started in Q4 financial year 2025 will continue and will continue to grow the revenues, especially since in this quarter we would have had only 1 month impact of our first acquisition being the Woman's Place. So that acquisition was effective on the 1st of November, and we would only have to date 1 month of impact from there. But though early days, 8.3% of our scans across mammography, bone densitometry, and ultrasounds actually came from that location. So we can see the bright promise that it has for us. I would move on to point out that our gross profit for the quarter was at 178.5 million, which year over year would be down 7.3%. Though it is down, the direct cost, I would hasten to also add, was actually less than the prior year. So if we look at our direct cost of 104 million in the prior year, we would notice that it was down to 98.7, and we would have done more prudent management of our direct expenses and a more direct matching of the inventory supplies used in the delivery of services to result in that savings to carry the gross profit to 178 versus the 192. I would say that going forward, the same ratio of gross profit, the gross profit margin will continue to improve. However, with the improvement in revenue, then we will see the gross profit actually actually growing. If we look a little bit now at the profit before tax, so we will note that the profit before tax figure delivered for the quarter is 9.9 million, carrying the 9-month year to date to 33 million. Quarter over quarter, it would have also been a decrease because in the prior year we would have done 26 million for the quarter. But if we look at the year to date, we realize that we are actually closing the gap, because year to date for the 9 months in financial year 2025 we would have delivered 41.6 million, and now we have delivered 33 million, and I anticipate that gap closing as we get to this financial year end. If we look at our scan count, we will note that for the 9-month period, the scan count was over 40,000, and it's just down by a small margin of 0.5%. And we know that if it were not for the hurricane, we actually would have done better in terms of the revenue figure and the scan count figure, and we would have actually closed the gaps that exist. But it is what it is, and as I said earlier, the impact, we can't complain given what our fellow Jamaicans were faced with. Carrying our earnings per share for the 9-month period back up to 0.03 cents, because we know we had gone as low as 1 cent in a prior period. All right, so if we move on now to our case count, what I wanted to point out on this is that we can see the year over year. We note that our MRI numbers, we haven't had full replacement of what we would have gotten from the public system, and we continue to grow our bookings in MRI. But if we look at our mammo, we can see the impact of even the acquisition as well as growth in our numbers. And on that point, I want to just stop to acknowledge that, we had several activities planned for October, which have been Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which would have been interrupted, but I'm happy to say that they've restarted. And what warmed my heart particularly was last week we had a foundation that was sponsoring ladies coming out of Montego Bay and Western Jamaica to do mammograms that got delayed, and happily we were able to accommodate them last weekend, and they were so happy with the service that they're actually sending 40 more ladies in the weekend coming. So things have restarted, and those appointments that were postponed since October, we see them picking up now in this fourth quarter. So that, along with the acquisition of the Women's Place, I'm very confident that we'll continue to see our mammo numbers grow. Also, I think it's important to note here that that's why diversification in terms of the number of modalities, the locations of our branches being across several parts of Jamaica in and of itself is a risk mitigating factor, because it actually would have compensated where we had a fall off, for example, in nuclear medicine, where several of the patients would have been coming from Western Jamaica, or would have had a fall off in even our patient traffic and footprint in our Ocherous location as Jamaicans tried to deal with what was right in front of them. So I think that is important to note. On the modality slide as well, I would just want to point out for the case count, I would want to draw a reference to a trend that we see where our ultrasound numbers have been growing quite significantly and are ahead even when other modalities may be behind, and that we see our CT numbers, though they're behind, they're picking back up year to date. So I anticipate seeing that correct itself going into the last quarter. Thanks. You can move back now to the balance sheet. All right, we notice in the balance sheet that our property, plant, and equipment is growing, and that, of course, would be on account of the new machines that would have gotten in the period, because remember, we'd have gotten the nuclear medicine unit that would be up and running. We notice a reduction in our receivables, and that's because we have collected a chunk of what would have been outstanding in the prior period. You notice that it would have gone down by over 54%. And we see our liabilities also going down as we worked towards clearing our recourse liability, bringing the balance down to going into fourth quarter, very, very manageable levels. And subsequent, of course, we would have paid off as our agreement was to pay that back in full at the end of December. And this was possible because we actually would have seen a significant improvement in our cash flows as we collected on the receivables. Now, what is good about the fact that we've replaced a large chunk of the MOH revenue is that we're also replacing it with settlement that occurs much faster. So either through cash or through insurance. And so therefore, we're not seeing that the company would be having any challenges as it relates to reduction in cash flow. So much so that we were able to do the purchase of the woman's place at 75% that we paid as a cash purchase. What else I'd like to point out here is just that the cash from operations would have gone down significantly to 334 million. All right, Renee, can move on for me. As it relates to our KPIs, we note the trend in our gross profit margin. Our admin expense ratio, we would still want to see it trending below the 47% that it is now, and that's what we're working on, and we believe it will trend lower as we continue to grow our revenues, because if you look specifically at our admin expenses for the 9-month period, you would note that it's turned out at 379 million as opposed to 382 million that we spent last year. So despite inflationary impact and just the cost of business growing up, we've been going up, not growing up, we would have been able to prudently manage our expenses to the point that our expenses for this 9-month period this year are actually less than prior year. So the admin expense ratio will continue to improve. And then we are working towards improving the net profit margin by growing the revenue. So growing the revenues really are the key to seeing an improvement in our overall performance. And I'm confident that with the plans that we're making, that we will continue to see that growth as the trend started in Q4 financial year 2025. Our staff count has pretty much remained steady. And I think the key thing here to note is that even with the acquisition of the Women's Place, we've been able to reallocate resources because we had been planning for it, and so we reallocated resources, and so you just see a minor increase over prior year, where we were at 84 employees and we're now at 85 employees. So I think that is a good thing as well, because we're showing that the number of team members that we have are sufficient in large part to be able to operate even with a new acquisition of a new location. And I should note that we're operating the Women's Place from the existing 1 Stanton Terrace location that patients would have been accustomed to before. But the intention is that when we are ready to move the Winchester branch to 33 Lady Musgrave, we will also move the Stanton Terrace operations to 33 Lady Musgrave Road. All right, so what do our shareholders want to pay attention to in the months ahead? Of course, the case count, because the case count is really what results in revenue. And I anticipate that you'll continue to see a growth in mammograms. There is a new modality that you'll also continue to see, or will start to see, not continue, and that is bone densitometry, which is offered now from the location at 1 Stanton Terrace. And so it is a new modality to generate revenue for our shareholders and to also provide imaging for patients and their referring doctors. You'll continue also to see the growth in ultrasounds from the existing locations, but now also with an added location at the Woman's Place. Our CT case recovery, as I indicated earlier, we are seeing it slowly inching back up. And what is also helping to drive this is a resumption of our on-call services, even in Kingston. So there had to come a point in time that those had reduced somewhat, but we are seeing the resumption in Kingston with patients who may be private patients actually procuring the services for themselves. When any of our hospital facilities are down, we do have the partnerships that we'll get referrals from the hospitals. And in Ocherus, we see the referrals coming from both public and private patients. I tell you something interesting, even during the hurricane, we had the day before, which would have been the 27th when we were closed, because we had an on-call person at our location. We were actually able to offer services to patients on the 27th of October. For MRI, we see a steady case count. We want to see that improve. We're working on that to just raise the awareness and ensure that the footprint coming into Ocherus is there. I think we will have to at some point assess how we move forward if we don't think it's at the level that we want it to be at, because there's certainly demand in other locations for MRI. But we see it steadily increasing, but the pace of growth that we want to see is not exactly where we want it to be, but we're looking out for that. in the days ahead. And for nuclear medicine, I'm happy to say that we're actually now able to offer some cardiac studies, which we're going to be promoting to our referring physicians. And I anticipate seeing some volume coming from that as well. In the meantime, we continue to offer the things that we were offering before in nuclear medicine and seeing a steady flow of patients again. The performance of the acquisition, I had mentioned the growth in the mama count. Going forward, by the time we get to year end, we're going to give our shareholders a little bit more information in terms of what the volumes are coming from that location and what they can anticipate. And we'll talk a little bit more then about bone densitometry and what it offers to referring physicians, and show how that we anticipate impacting our numbers in the year ahead at our AGM. The MRI modality, as I indicated, we're going to continue to look at the performance there, look at the numbers. We are seeing steady numbers. And actually, maybe I'm being a little bit impatient because the number is going up over prior year. It's just that we would want to see the rate of growth a little faster. But I guess we have to bear in mind what happened in that side of the country in the third quarter. And we also have to bear in mind that sometimes affordability means that people take a little longer to actually book that modality, because you find a lot of those patients are actually paying out of pocket as opposed to insurance. One thing I should note, though, is that because we actually offer studies for prostate and breast MRI, which is not so accessible outside of Kingston, and even in Kingston, there may be only another one or two providers who offer. We find that we have quite a few patients leaving from other parishes to come to St. Anne to access that. And our pricing such permits that even if you have to pay a toll, it makes it worth your while to go. You wouldn't have a wait time. So at this point, I would want to say that if we know people who need a breast MRI or prostate MRI, Apex Radiology MRI services with the new technology is available in Ocho Rios for them to access. And of course, we're paying attention to our patient satisfaction. We are doing surveys. We're trying to ensure that we hear from our patients. We know what the normal pain points would be. We steadily get feedback every day in all the locations. We have it easy for the patients to do a quick little survey on a tablet, so we can know what their challenges are and what we are doing well and they want us to continue. So those are the things that are going to determine how our performance looks in the days ahead. In addition, we will be sharing some more insight at the end of year about our second acquisition, which we expect to come to fruition early in the new financial year. And the impact of that we know will be more significant in that it is a facility with multimodalities and will carry us into a completely new parish of Jamaica to offer our services there. And we're quite excited about that. All right, so the outlook, improved rate in scan count, the rate of growth. If we look at our scan numbers year over year, we'll see that the rate of growth is at a faster pace than it was occurring earlier in this financial year. The cost management, I think that by any measure, our cost management has been commendable in that we have been able to reduce our admin expenses year over year, as well as our direct costs year over year. The positive performance from our first acquisition noted by just in month one, the 8.3% contribution to scan count, and that we anticipate continuing with a steadily amount of revenue per month that really helps to drive our overall revenue performance. And then the second multimodality acquisition, which we have already gotten to a very, let me see how I say this now, because we're not quite yet ready to make regulatory disclosure because we're waiting on our legal documents to do that. But we have some general agreements as it relates to pricing and timing, and I'm very confident that in Q1 we'll be telling our shareholders about that. And our year ends at the end of February, so Q1 is right around the corner for us. And the progress at our 33 Lady Musgrave location, which if anybody passes the location now, they see that, with our joint venture partner, the building is pretty much on the outside complete. The stores are up. I think they're working on the last floor, and we are actually working on our layout, and we're looking at our layout to ensure not only patient comfort, but just flow in the facility to ensure that the flow supports efficiency and it supports a feel of the patients getting, the most amount of privacy that you can, and to accommodate the growth that we anticipate in some of our modalities, such as interventional radiology. And so we are confident as well that we will be moving into that location in this year and in the upcoming financial year. When we fine tune our layout and we get a sense from our project monitor and the contract in terms of timing, then I'll be able to say more concretely. So again, by aging, we should be able to say when we'll be moving into the building. What pleases me is that I remember at our last AGM, the comment was made that it was a lot that we were going to be aiming to do, and I know that with the team's support, we're going to be able to report on both acquisitions by the time we get to our AGM, and we'll be able to report on the progress for 33 Lady Musgrave. So I'm really excited about that. I think I want to also just right here plug that we are on the 26th of February this year, celebrating our 30th anniversary. And as the committee is looking at what we want to do to make a meaningful contribution as we stop to even celebrate such a significant milestone, we decided as a team that we are going to actually do a blood drive. So on the 11th of February, right before Valentine's, we were saying to Jamaicans, give love, give meaningful love by supporting the blood drive at our 3A Winchester location. We're doing it in partnership with the National Blood Bank. It will be between the hours of 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And of course, we're going to deliver it with a lot of niceness in true Apex Radiology style and make our blood donors feel comfortable. So look out for more of that on our social media pages. We also will be celebrating by having attending church together as a team. We normally do that, and we're going to put it on our social media pages as well in case any of our shareholders want to come. I believe the date for that is February 22nd. I'm not sure if they have finalized the church. More than likely it'll be here in Kingston. I think I see them nodding that they have. It's going to be at TLC, Transform Life Church, on the 22nd of February. What time is the service, team? At 9:50. So if our shareholders want to come and join us, we would be completely honored. So those are the two things that we know so far. As the year goes on, we'll share some more of how we're celebrating in a meaningful way our 30th anniversary of delivering healthcare solutions to the people of Jamaica. Outside of that, our marketing team continued, though we had all that was happening as a result of the hurricane. We did participate in health fairs. So there is a team members at the Forestry Department Health Fair and also at the Louis Industrial Garage facility where we're promoting breast cancer awareness. And so what I want to say to our shareholders and anybody listening is that we are actually willing to come and talk to your teams, to groups of women about the importance of getting screening. And we actually have been offering and continue to offer, because remember, we try to say, don't wait until October to get your breast cancer screening. That is just a month when we make people more aware of it. But at any point in time, step out with yourself, you and a couple of your friends. And I know I always speak about it like it's women because it's predominantly women, but we do have men come for screening too. And so we continue to promote that. And in the third quarter, because it was breast cancer awareness in October, we had a lot of activities around that. We also would share here just a few of the pictures. The team went on the pink run together supporting, of course, breast cancer. It was delayed until November based on the passage of the hurricane. And then we have images of the team members, both presenting a check to the Food for the Poor, as well as when we participated in relief item distribution, which was quite meaningful to several members of our team. So the outlook and how I would wrap up by saying is that I think we have done our very best to replace our income sources and to continue to grow our scan count despite having to shift from our reliance on so many of our referrals coming from the Ministry of Health. And again, I don't want to say that has disappeared, because it has not. It's just that it's significantly reduced as they look at the realities of their budget. And what we have done is ensure that the transition we've made easier for our patients coming in the system by looking at, the cost of the scans and ensuring that we communicate with them and facilitate them in being able to do their scans and pay for their scans in a timely manner. Because most importantly, people do scans like this. I mean, you do have times when you're coming to celebrate something like the birth of a child, but a lot of times because you need to get a diagnosis, and the sooner you can do your scan and get some kind of answers for your doctors is very important. So we have done a good job at converting the source of the payments for our scans and growing the scans and growing the new modalities that we put out. Though, as I said, I may be a little impatient, and we're impatient with the rate of growth. Our team continues, and marketing and promoting and awareness of what we offer continues to be important and be a big focus for us as in the days ahead. So we are growing. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to ensure that we're offering value added. So we are listening to the referring doctors and their feedback to us, focusing on ensuring that any pain points they have are addressed. We're ensuring that we remain relevant with the modalities that are of concern and that are growing. We're ensuring that we are doing things that are not offered very readily. So the whole thing of cardiac studies in our nuclear medicine facility, which is we're working with some of the top cardiac specialists and ensuring that we're meeting the needs of the patients there. And we are looking at our new modalities such as bone densitometry and how we can promote what the benefits of that are for patients who need those scans, and their doctors to know that we are there and we're available to perform those scans through the location at Stanton Terrace. As it relates to our shareholders, I think they would have been happy that we do a dividend, though it was modest and paid in December. We did do a dividend, which shows that we are returning now to reward our shareholders for their patience, as we invested a large portion of what we made in ensuring that we're continuing to grow in a sustainable manner the business. And so our shareholders continue to hold the faith, continue to give us your support, and I anticipate that you should see more of that in the year ahead, especially as our revenues grow. Moving into 33 LMR, that will be a new development in this calendar year, where we'll be able to accommodate our patients in a more spacious environment, and we'll be able to grow the modality of interventional radiology. And then we will determine whether or not we're going to have MRI services, how and when in Kingston. So a lot to look forward to. The team remains committed, hardworking, our board of directors ensuring that the focus of our shareholders and our stakeholders are top of mind. In terms of governance in the quarter, we would have, right after the quarter in December, we would have won a prize at the Jamaica Stock Exchange for investor relations and shareholder disclosure. We came third, I think, for the company just listed in 2023 to get that kind of recognition on the junior market. It contributed to making that possible. For shareholders, that means you're invested in a company with good governance and focus on doing the right things. And of course, through medium like this, engaging with you, the shareholders, and allowing you to ask your questions. So I think that's all I have to say now to conclude, Renee, and then invite the questions that I know some of our shareholders and from your community will have.
All right, thank you so much for that, Keisha, and congratulations again. Congratulations.
I'm not hearing her.
I am. Let me know if you're hearing me now.
I didn't hear you. I'm hearing you now.
All right.
I'm hearing and seeing you now.
Fantastic. So I wanted to first say thank you and congrats again. Congrats on 30 years. That's a big deal. And congrats on your award at the JC.
All right, you're frozen again, but award. I know that the technology, that's how it is with Murphy, you know. All right, you're back now, I hope.
Yes. So just congrats on the award again. I think it is indeed
thank you
an amazing accomplishment. So and of course we love to see it. Wow. We love to see good governance. We love to see investor relations being taken seriously. So thank you for your commitment in that area, and thank you as always, for your explanation and the deep dive behind the numbers. So there are a few questions, and we're just going to jump right into
Sure.
those.
Sure.
The first few are from Limitless, and as you
Happy
know,
New
they're
Year to
doctors.
Limitless. Yes, man. I missed Limitless the last time. I think that I wouldn't have much participation from them. So I'm happy that they're back.
Nice. All right. So the first question is, when do you expect the LMR location to be opened? I don't know if they're looking for something very specific, because I know you said
Renee, if I
2026
seem delayed,
earlier.
it's because I'm getting a delay on my end and not quite sure why. But you're back with me again. I don't know what's happening on my end.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
assuming
okay.
it's fine.
We
Okay.
will take our time
All right. So
as
go
it is
ahead with
needed.
Limitless. Let's go.
Right. The first question is, when do you expect the LMR location to be opened?
All right. So I had said earlier that I won't give an exact month because we're working that through. We're doing our layout review now, and then we'll have to work with the project monitor and the project manager or joint venture partner about that. But I know that we will be in the building before Christmas. Let's leave it at that, and then the details will come by the time we get to our first quarter results.
All right. Their next question is about how many machines you're planning to have when you open LMR.
Okay, so so everything that's at Winchester will be at LMR because remember, we're moving the majority of that location. We have to make a decision as a board if we leave anything at all at Winchester, like some kind of footprint, but the majority will be moved. And so we'll be having CT, we're going to have ultrasound, fluoroscopy, X-ray, interventional, remember, is going to be built out. Our nuclear medicine unit, we are seriously considering leaving it at the 129 Pro location because we find that it's a all-encompassed service there, and with especially since we're offering cardiac, there's a cardiac specialist in the location, and there we also have an X-ray unit. So we're thinking that we're going to leave nuclear medicine there. MRI is on the table for us to determine whether we're going to put in an MRI unit there. So we would have everything at the location with the exception of nuclear medicine. I said fluoroscopy already, I think. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. And their next question is, what is your view of the PET scan market in Jamaica?
Okay. So I think when I hear our nuclear medicine principal chief radiologist talking about it, Dr. McDonough, I think there is opportunity, but you have to look at the affordability of PET scans and the applicability of it. And I don't want to venture too much into it as I'm not the doctor, but when I hear her speak, I think that is a wisdom of it, because you don't want to be offering something that the majority of our Jamaicans can't afford and that maybe their health insurance coverage won't cover. So what we are able to offer now through this SPECT is actually does a whole lot of what the exploration that our doctors and referring doctors and their patients would need. What I can probably promise them is that we can ask through marketing to do some kind of short informational video on it, because Dr. McDonald does a fabulous job of kind of explaining applicability, so that our Limitless is normally a group of doctors that if they want to know more about it, we can give them the information through that medium.
Wonderful. So the next question is about new services, and I think you would have touched on that already. So we can move to the next one.
Well, every opportunity I can get to say that we have bone densitometry, I'll say it. And every opportunity I can get to say that you can come for MRI and ultrasound, I'll say it. And every opportunity I get to say that the cost of our MRI services, especially prostate MRIs and breast MRIs that are in such high demand, it is not prohibitive. Even with the toll that you're going to pay to come, it's well worth the patient's time to come to get their scan done in ultrasound, rather than you wait.
Awesome.
And you'd be surprised. At first, I thought to myself, would I go as a patient? And the highway is just right there. But when somebody needs to get the scan, and that's the only place that you can get it, and you find more and more people. When I say to them, it's not like they say, oh, okay, it's like 45 minutes away, So
yeah. I mean, you spend that time in traffic in the morning anyway.
I tell you the truth. For me to go to Ligani from even where we are now on Winchester Road is about an hour, depending on the time of day.
Yeah, exactly. But the bone densitometry.
You went again, so I know you're coming back in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
Back
We're
again.
good. Right. So the bone densitometry is something that I haven't heard in a very long time. I I was exposed to it because I was within a group of students who were being tested for some things.
Okay, 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 okay.
I was exposed to it. And the next time, the testing was like every 5 years. And the next time we went, they said, "Oh, the machine isn't working, so we'll just have to skip that part of the test." And I haven't heard it since. So
Well, they can come to
that's good to hear.
1 Stanton Terrace, Apex Radiology at the Women's Place, and we offer Monday to Friday from as early as 8 a.m. up to 4 p.m. And you can get it done, and your report is done in pretty short order as well. The turnaround time is good, so I encourage them to come. Very, very reasonable pricing. So
Awesome. Thank you.
929 Apex.
I did see a question about pricing. Let me see
Ray
if I can
frozen
find
again.
that.
I don't know if you're
Yes.
hearing me.
All right. So I did see a question on pricing. So I'm just going to jump to that and then jump back.
Sure.
The question is, how does the company go about its pricing? How do you determine when to increase prices?
Yeah. So I think we've been very conscionable around our pricing because we would have done an increase in 2024, and it's not across every study or across every modality, because how we approach it, we look at the actual cost to deliver the services, knowing the kind of margin that we believe is reasonable, and our team and our directors, we look at it, we're going to be fair to our shareholders, but also reasonable in terms of the fact that we are providing healthcare services, and not everybody, really can afford diagnostic imaging. So how do we strike that balance? But what we start with is the actual cost to deliver the services, and bearing in mind the margin. And we try to negotiate our pricing. And the larger we get in terms of number of scans that we're doing and the percentage of the market that we have, is the more that we can negotiate around, the input into the delivery of the services. And so that's another benefit of actually growing and growing the business through acquisition of already performing entities. And so once we review that and we say, okay, the cost to deliver is X and the margin is it affected, yes or no? We're offering, for example, bulk discounts. So when we offer like bulk discounts to groups coming to do, for example, mammograms, we look at the impact of getting a large number of studies in a short period of time and determine what level of discount we can offer. So we determine our pricing, and then the last thing we would do is to get a check of the market and kind of see where others are priced, because everybody will have their own pricing kind of structure and strategy. But that's the very last. We start first with the cost for us to deliver and the margin that we're trying to deliver it at. But we don't often do price increases. As I say, we try to be fair to our shareholders as well as our stakeholders, because you don't really want to be the highest in the market and you drive away, and good conscience knowing that we're really doing a medical service delivery.
All right. Thank you for that. So Jamaica Politics says, the stock is down 50% and only a good acquisition can save us now.
I didn't hear what he said because you chipped out. I'm sorry. Say it again.
I was saying Jamaica Politics, they
Yes.
said the stock is down 50% and only a good acquisition can save us now. So first,
I don't think our stock price is really related to the performance of the entity. I really am. When I look at actually the movement in the stock price, sometimes it actually doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I see like at some strange things happening at particular times, but I mean that's something that we are in dialogue with the stock exchange about when we look at it, because I don't think our stock price reflects our value. As a matter of fact, we are underpriced when you look at the actual fundamentals of our stock. And especially with acquisitions, it should be going in the opposite direction. But I mean, only time will tell in that regard. And that's why I think it's important that we look at our return to paying dividends, that our shareholders will be saying that's what they have. So they look at the total return on the stock and not just the stock price, which we have no control over. When you look at the volumes of shares trade, it's not significant volumes either, So I'm not so sure that the performance is linked to the stock price. What stands out in my mind, Renee, is that the day after we listed, the stock price fell significantly. The day after we listed, that had nothing to do with, the actual performance of the entity. So that's something that for the overall market, I wish would see some improvement. But we are looking at what's happening, dialoguing with the stock exchange when we see anything that we question, because we wouldn't have the information without asking them questions. What we'll do is that we'll continue to create value for the shareholders by making the right strategic choices, so that when the market corrects itself, because the overall market is also an issue, when the market corrects itself, then our shareholders will start to see the value.
That's awesome. And I thank you for that perspective and sharing it, because on the other side of that, there's a comment from Supervillain who says he will be stocking up on the IPCL shares.
Yeah, so, unfortunately, you went again. We really have to figure out what's going wrong today.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know either, because we have both a Wi-Fi and an Ethernet connection, and I don't know what's happening today. So really, I'm sorry about that. Yeah,
that's okay.
We'll work on it. So I didn't hear the question.
We will take it as we go. I was saying that on the flip side, Supervillain is saying that he will be stocking up on IPCL shares, because as we know, when it is underpriced, it's a great time to buy. So
that's correct.
It's just about
we do have other, we do have other persons that I see doing that. And if I think, again, I'm not giving investment advice, but I think if you look at all the major shareholders outside of our original or legacy shareholders, if you look at who is doing it, you see quite a bit of the financial entities, and they tend to buy what they see as medium to long term value. So you just have to determine what is your appetite or investment horizon. But I believe that it's priced.
Indeed. Thank you for that. You are getting congratulations. And thanks for the update and congrats on the improving performance. So definitely wanted to just acknowledge that was shared here.
Thanks to that shareholder.
The next community question.
I think, in times like these, Renee, is important, the choices made and the strategies to actually ensure that you're creating value. So I think as a shareholder, looking and seeing that the costs are being maintained and even reduced, so we're getting more efficient, and looking as a shareholder and seeing that we actually are able to consolidate the industry by buying other entities, and looking as a shareholder and saying a company that was doing 65% of their business from the public referral system, and now that's down to 4%, and the company is still delivering revenue. I think the right things are being done, but I do understand some of our shareholders being a little bit impatient with the price, So
I do agree, and I think that this is a great time for me to say to you that one of the things I've always admired about IPCL is your discipline and your commitment to delivering that value, because there is a very clear strategy and roadmap. You've been transparent in your communication, and you've been dedicated to delivering exactly what you've promised. So thank you for that. Thank you for being an example in that way, because just by observing how the company operates, I have been able to apply that to my own business and to my own life, and to make adjustments accordingly. So thank you guys for being a good example. And I am looking forward to the corrections as well.
Thank you.
As we move forward. So the next community question, you're welcome, is how has the machine health been since your previous quarters of downtime?
How was this? I didn't hear the first part.
The machine health.
How has it?
Machine health been since the previous quarters when there was some downtime?
Oh, okay, all right. So in the quarter that ended Q3, we had a few days, not significantly, right before the hurricane, actually, of our CT in Otrus being done as we awaited a part, but that was closed within a short period of time. I paused because trying to remember if it's 3 or 4 days. But we have had no other machine downtime outside of servicing of the units in the quarter. Yeah. So our machine uptime was high. That is actually a KPI that we're tracking for the board. I'm trying to figure out, logically, just how to note downtime. I mean, you have the number of days you can say by modality, but just to get to a percentage, because a KPI I
Right.
want to start reporting on to our shareholders. But of course, it's something that we track every day. A machine is done. We know exactly how much revenue we would be down. So that's not something that we entertain. Even something like servicing, we try to have our servicing and those things done in off hours so that it doesn't impact our ability to continue to deliver services in the daytime when people want to come to us. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's good to hear
Mhm.
that it has been better this quarter. The next community question, are there any future deals in the pipeline after this upcoming acquisition?
I didn't hear the first part, of course, because you said if there's anything else in the pipeline.
Any future deals? Yes.
Okay, all right. So we want to, I think it's important. I mean, I can't preempt what the board would decide to do, but I think it's important that we do two things. We want to give some time for the acquisition to actually start to deliver the value, make sure the system settles and we don't overburden the system by too much stress or rush at the same time. I think that additionally, we want to go back to, I would have shared, I think not in this last AGM, but the AGM before, I would have shared with our shareholders that we look at actually the age of the population, the distribution of the population. We look at the competition for services against the map of Jamaica. We look at data from Staten, no matter how dated the last census may be, we use that. We look at information from our referring physicians and we determine where there may be an opportunity for us to consolidate. If you think about it, based on us being on the east and on the northeast coast, we're going to be somewhere in central Jamaica in short order. It would only be on the western side of Jamaica. And so I think we'd have to look at it and determine whether it would be the right thing now, or we want to wait another year before we assess, or it makes sense to consolidate at this time and then come back. So I don't think we'll have that update or decision for shareholders by the time we get to AGM, but maybe later in the new financial year 2027 we may have word on that. But for right now, we're going to concentrate on getting the value from the two acquisitions that will be, well, the second that will be closed in short order.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a good segue into Garfield's question. You
Sure.
somewhat addressed it, but he's asking, will there be any in Spanish Town?
Okay, so we don't have anything targeted for Spanish Town at this point in time. I know we have a director who has a big vision for us in terms of even how we can support some of the public challenges that are there now, but we don't have anything targeted for Spanish Town at this point in time.
Okay, and the final question I'm seeing is from the community, is there a target dividend yield for the company?
Oh gosh, there is, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it was in our prospectus. So you can
There we go.
just Google it and if anything we can, I tried to think how to answer. Maybe if we can send it answer back to you and you can post in your community, but it is consistent with what we had said in our prospectus. That is where we haven't changed or revisited that target yet.
Understood. Thank you so much for that. And that brings us to the end of the Q&A segment, and I believe the end of our earnings call. Unless, of course, Keisha, there's anything else you'd like to share or say before we
No,
go.
I don't think so. I would just say that we are now in the second, almost at the end of the second month in our final quarter, and we continue to make progress and see. I think the what we anticipated in large part. The truth is our business model is pretty simple. You're providing a service that's an essential service that if you deliver well, the quality of your reports, the patient experience that our patients have when they come to us, the expanse of your offerings to make sure you're covering several modalities, the redundancy that comes from having several locations where you repeat the modalities and people can easily access across Jamaica, being current with new things that are being offered as we're doing with our cardiac studies in nuclear, or we're doing with our interventional studies, though not at the level that it will be when we get to 33 LMR. We continue to just apply ourselves and grow our numbers. The business model is simple. We manage our expenses, we deliver good service, we keep ourselves relevant to the referring doctors and to the needs of our patients. And we're making more and more making ourselves known. We're not going to take for granted that because we've been around for 30 years, people know what we do. We make the right decisions, company well governed, or financial results published on time. We have interactions. Even shareholders may not get all their questions in a forum such as this, but they can send us emails, and their emails will be answered. Again, we're picking up now in terms of our payment of dividends. We're doing the things that are going to lead to a sustainable business model and a performance from a company that continues to grow from strength to strength in the days ahead. We maintain currency with our technology and the technology of our field. And it is our hope that our shareholders will be patient through what's happening now with the share price, and that their patience will be rewarded in due time as the company continues to perform. I just want to thank our entire team for the focus and the energy and the commitment and care that they bring, because we wouldn't be celebrating 30 years on the 26th of February without them. And as I close, I would just say support us in making a meaningful contribution for Jamaica by giving blood. February 11th, 9 to 3 o'clock at 3A Winchester, our location, and make a difference you never know who it will be for, you make a difference in somebody's life. So that's what I'd like to say to close, and I look forward to sharing our results at the end of year and at our AGM that will follow. Thank you.
At Apex Radiology, service is more than a word, it's our promise. Our dedicated staff is here to make the process as hassle-free as possible. From booking your appointments, to doing your procedures, to delivering fast results, we go above and beyond. It's not just about the scans, it's about people. Apex Radiology, the clear choice for all your diagnostic needs.